Today you see two shirts. One is a self-refashion because I've just changed the detail of something I'd made in the past, and the other one's brand new. It's a hack to a shirt pattern, shorter. Look at this cute hem, a shirt with pleats. Lovely details. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm so happy about the projects I'm going to share today. They are type of singing inducing projects. I was just very joyous when I was sewing them because they are hacks. It's a pattern I've already sewn multiple times before, so now it's just playing around with it and making something different. What I'm talking about is the Aria shirt from Love Notions. This is a pattern that was released about 2 years ago. I have already made 9 whopping versions and it's such a classic. I already have a lot of videos about it, a lot of techniques that you can learn, like towel placket. I've got a video on that. The collar is simplified because it's all in one with a stand, and the collar in one piece. You don't have to unite those. That makes the process a lot easier. It looks just as nice. And today, because the Aria is a featured pattern, you can get it for only $5 if you want to, which is an amazing value. And if you haven't bought the course that Love Notions offers to sew this shirt, if you don't have the pattern yet, you can get the pattern for free included if you buy the course today. But only today, because if you buy the course another day, the pattern is not included in the course. I'll leave you all the information and my affiliate links in the description box and the pinned comment, so it's easy for you to find, as well as the playlist for all the versions I've made before. At the very end of this episode, I'll show you a couple of seconds each of the versions I've already made, but I want to focus on the 2 new ones. Well, let's just say one is brand new, the other one is a refashion. I'm really excited to show you the 2 new ones and sort of pick on a topic here that is inspiration. I wish I had inspiration sooner, sometimes months before or even a few days before I was gonna make these videos. For me as a creative person, inspiration hits when it does. When I have that idea, sometimes I don't have much time and I just go full on production. Let's make this a reality. I have that idea in my head and I'm just so happy. A few years ago, I made these summer key pants, dark red linen. These are wide leg, like a wide leg style, and they have this beautiful hem over here at the bottom, tulip hem. And so a little while later, I made an Aria shirt in the same fabric and I replicated that hem detail of the pants to the sleeves right here, and I made the shirt as is. I always wanted to wear them together as an option, not always, but it's lovely to have a set. Then I ended up feeling that everything was too wide. The pants are wide, the shirt was wide. I felt a little bit swallowed in fabric because Aria shirt is longer, like any shirt is, you know, it's at the full hip. I usually wouldn't wear a shirt with wide leg pants. I really wanted to wear them together, so I just decided to refashion my Aria shirt because up to this point I'd only worn it on its own, not with the pants, and I really want to wear it with the pants. Remember this little tulip hem, so you can see it on the sleeve. So this is my beautiful Aria shirt I made back then to go with the pants. I replicated the hem detail there. That time when inspiration hit to do this, I was go, make it happen, make it happen. Pretty much the day before I made the video. I have a tutorial on how I did this and it's easier than you think. And so I wanted a shorter style that would balance the wide leg pant style here. Also, something like this in a shorter length would be great for fit and flare dresses as well. So I could see a lot of potential in just shortening that shirt. And then I always knew that as I went along, I was going to be adding more details to my refashion. This was so easy to do. And if you want to make a shirt in this style, I'll show you how. It's really easy. I base everything on a shirt I've already made, this one. And I try it on and see, fold up the hem and see how short it would suit me and all that. So let's just see a little bit of a process of what I did to this. Whenever I want to hack a pattern, there's nothing better than trying one that you've already made as per the original, so you can really see what changes you want. And here you can see that I've just folded it up to the length that I want on the front and the back. I've tried it on here with an 8-line skirt because this is the type of hack I want to do. I want to have a correct length that's going to match this type of silhouette. So I want it hitting at my high hip. I can never do a crop jacket that goes right to my waist. I think the shortest I can go is my high hip just because of my vertical proportions. So that's what I'm going to do there. You can see at the back there's quite a lot of extra ease. I'm thinking about doing a casing with a white elastic in there. That's going to bring it all in close to the body. It's going to look a lot different and it's still the same pattern. So I'm going to be refashioning this Aria shirt I made a couple of years ago, just because I want something different and because I can. This top line is the length that I want it finished to be. And then this second line is going to be the hem allowance I need for the casing to be wide enough to fit this elastic. This is 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters, so that is going to fit nicely in there. I've got everything placed right on top of each other. Everything's super neat. I took really good care to mark this as neat as possible, and here goes nothing. I want to be especially careful here in the center front that I cut them the same so that they all end up being the same length. I'm going to have to reinforce these seams again because I just cut right through it. This is the elastic that you find on men's boxes. And I just removed this elastic from one of my son's old boxes. The elastic was in such great condition and I always thought I was going to use it for something. So this is the elastic I'm going to use inside. I'm still playing around with the idea of not putting the elastic all the way through, leaving a section here on the front that's just going to be normal and flat. Have the gathered section from here around the middle of the front all the way around to the other side and then back over here. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really cool different look to this shirt. Very easy refashion on one of my own handmaids. I've reinforced the seams I needed to in the center of the plackets and the side seams so that they don't come undone. I just cut through the stitching that was there before, so that was important. And now I'm just serging all the bottom edge. I've got really nice color thread that matches the color of this fabric exactly, and that's really important for me. Now this is the bottom. This over here can look a little bit bulky, and there's actually no other way I could do this. If I had planned this from the start, I probably would have done the plackets not sewn onto the outside but sewn onto the inside instead. But that's just the way it is with refashion. Sometimes you just have to leave things as they are. Now I'm going to leave both of these ends open here. That is important because I'm going to thread the elastic through here. So once I've got the elastic sorted and I've tried on what the length I need and all of that, then I'm going to come in here and sew it by hand from the inside. It'll be pretty invisible, and from the outside it's just going to look nice and clean. My son's boxes had this elastic. It wasn't long enough for what I need, but 2 of them is long enough. I just placed them right together and did some zigzag stitches. It's nice and flat, and now I've got a longer elastic. So now I'm just going to sew this casing all the way along the bottom. I'm doing this from the right side of the garment, and my basting stitch was done very neatly along the serged edge. So that's my guide, and that's where I want to stitch. I always wanted to leave part of the center area without the gathering of the elastic. I just decided on an amount which is 6 inches or 15 centimeters. So on the inside I drew a chalk mark there on both sides. Of course I wanted to try the elastic on and see how much I wanted to gather. So I just started threading the elastic through there. Up until I reached that mark, I left 3/8 of an inch elastic just beyond the mark there so I can sew that down. I've got a pin there, I haven't sewn it. And then I just kept pushing the elastic through until I came to the other side. Right there it was all loose. And then I went to the mirror, tried it on, pushed it, you know. That's as much gathering that I'm gonna get here. So once I decided what I was comfortable with, I put a pin right there. But the thing is, I have all the elastic in there and I can't really take it out. So what I'm gonna do is just measure how much I'm gonna cut away. So from the edge up to where I have the pin and 3/8 of an inch more this way, it means I'm cutting away 52 centimeters right there. So I'm just gonna push elastic away here, measure the amount I figured out I needed to trim away, 52 centimeters. And now I can push this elastic back in until, now I'm going to be careful to push this elastic back in here until I can feel I'm 3/8 of an inch further than that mark. So I'll put my pin. Here I'm top stitching one of the sides of the elastic. So that's one side done. This is how it's going to look like on the front. So this first section is not going to be gathered, and the gathers start over here. This is the side seam right there. I still have to fix the way this is all gathered. After pushing the elastic through and sewing it in place, I still have these gaps where I push the elastic through. So I'm going to sew these by hand. I'm just taking tiny slip stitches, uniting these from the inside. Same color thread. It's going to be pretty much invisible. So that's the one I've sewn. It's all neat on the inside. Nothing's going to unravel. It's not the nicest finished on the inside, but it's functional. And I think from the outside it looks nice, so that's important. I'm going to just do the same and finish here. Ta-da! This is so cute. And it was just so easy as folding it up and sewing it. Of course, then I had to deal with a buttonhole down here that wasn't the best position for it. But I can live with that. I can't be too much of a perfectionist when I'm refashioning something. At the back, I ran into a problem because there was a buttonhole up here. And this buttonhole is lower. So what I did there, which no one's ever going to see, is I cut through the fabric and I sewed the buttonhole on this side myself. So I do have access to go all the way through. It's quite a few layers, but that buttonhole that you see at the bottom was sewn by hand, like old-fashioned style, like a tiny blanket stitch, just over and over and over. That's how people used to do them in the past. I know my mum used to spend time in the 70s doing buttonholes like that. So that's how I got around to actually being able to close that button right there. Not that I ever will, I think, but I wanted to have that option. And it was so easy. And then inside, when I sewed this down, I have a little bit of a space right there. I didn't want to sew it right on the edge. I showed you that I calculated about 15 centimeters, about 6 inches here that was just left flat, and then starts the gathering. This brings it all in. You know, this shirt has this pleat, so it was quite voluminous, quite a nice amount of ease right there. And all of this detail is just going to bring it in and make it more balanced with wide leg pants and A-line things and fit and flare dresses. And it's so pretty, and it was so easy to do. I was also able to reuse really new elastic that I had from one of my son's boxes. My son, during the pandemic, the first year, went through a huge growth spurt, and I was left with so many of his boxes that were almost brand new, like he'd worn them only a few times and then they didn't fit. So I just ripped out the elastics and thought I'll just save them. I'll save them for something. And I still have plenty of those left. And now they're in here and no one's going to know that it said active boy or whatever. So if you want to make yourself a short Aria shirt, give it a go. It looks so different. I'm looking at this more of a jacket. I don't think I'll wear it on its own. I would think I'll always wear it over something like a little summer or spring jacket, and I think it's mega cute. Here's my shorter Aria shirt with my summer key pants. They are the same fabric. Up closer you can see that the hemline is now a lot shorter, and that elastic casing at the hem brings it all in close to the body. I have a simple cami tucked in there. The pockets of the summer key pants go all the way across, and I'm gonna just button all of this up so you can see how that looks, and I think it suits the style of the pants so much better. So I'm really happy to wear these together now. If I want to, of course, I can wear this hacked Aria shirt in other ways. Having a set is always a good alternative when you just don't know what to wear. It's really easy to grab things that are made from the same fabric. And I'm really glad I made this simple hack that makes this Aria shirt look so cute. I added a tulip detail on the Aria shirt to match the detail of the pants. That was really fun to do. I did that years ago. All I did now is shorten it. And then here it is paired with my encore skirt in grey denim. This is a staple skirt for me. I really love how this shorter shirt looks like with an A-line skirt like this with pleats. Got a little bit more volume there. I really struggle to wear a longer jacket or topper with this type of skirt. So I love this simple cami tucked in there. I love how the blousing looks at the back with the elasticized hem now. It's just so cute and I love the look. And it's just another way to make a shirt look a lot different with the same pattern. That little bit of elastic goes a long way. I don't have many dresses that have a full skirt. This is one of the ones that has a fuller skirt. This is a knit dress that's super comfortable to wear in athletic knit, and you can see that the volume of the skirt is a little fuller than what I usually make. I have a few dresses like this. Always struggle to layer something that is not going to be voluminous in a longer length. And so this shorter shirt is going to be the perfect little spring jacket to go over a fit and flare dress like this one. I love the combination of colors, and this print is one I've used to make many garments. One of them is this dress, and now it goes perfect with my little hacked cropped Aria shirt. So lovely. I love the colors, makes me so happy here. It's a Miri dress from Wardrobe by Me that's got an A-line skirt, less volume than the other one, fitted bodice, and a perfect layer, of course, is something flared like this. I love how this looks. Totally my style, and I'm gonna really enjoy this little topper now in the future. I was really lacking something like this that's easy to wear with hot climate, short sleeves. I really doubt I'm gonna be wearing this shirt on its own. when I do this type of sewing that's freestyle like this, I don't give you measurements and things because it's all gonna depend on what you like. That's why I just like taking a pattern that is the pattern as per the original, like this one, and just playing around with it and seeing what I like. Everyone's gonna have different preferences for length. I'm never gonna tell you cut it away X amount of inches because that's going to be different for everyone, but you get the general idea of how I do it and how fun this is. And for the second garment, I did pretty much the same thing. I knew I wanted to keep that original short length the same. I didn't want to change that, but I wanted to add pleats. Now, where did I get the inspiration? From this skirt. Remember I showed you in the mirror, I was trying on this Aria shirt with this enquiries skirt, and I just grabbed this one because it's an A-line shape and I wanted to make sure the length I was getting for this version was going to be correct. But as I was looking at this, I started looking at the pleats. The enquiries skirt has these lovely pleats. Look at this beautiful pleat right there. And I just started having ideas of a second version and how I could make a shirt that was also shorter with pleats on the front and the back. I love that so much. The process is amazing. And I decided to make another one in the same fabric so I could have a set. Also short sleeves, adding some pleats, and you can see it's so easy. So let's see how that one came about. Got my Aria shirt, wrong sides out. The wrong side is a whiter tone, so you can see probably better what I'm doing. And I just want to mark a reference where I would like this front yoke to be. This is something I want to do because I want to divide my front into two pieces so that I can make the bottom part wider to do a pleat. I've chosen an area at my high bust where I would like this to be, and I'm just putting a few pins there for reference. I'd rather do it on my body so that I'm happy rather than just choosing a random place on the pattern. After putting pins there and knowing approximately where I would like this front yoke to be, I've got my pattern piece here. Don't mind all the lines, I've done a lot to this pattern already. So I've just aligned it here along one of the stripes of the shirt, which is really helpful. Where I pull the pins, I'm gonna do a line here. Now this is going to be my front yoke and this is going to be the bottom of the shirt. So all I'm going to do is cut this and then add seam allowance to both these pieces, 3/8 of an inch here and there. When I divide pattern pieces into two, I don't make new ones and add seam allowance. I don't do that type of thing. All I do is right here, add seam allowance, add seam allowance. Then I do that on the fabric. And then I'll come and tape this back together again because I don't want to ruin my pattern pieces. The reason I wanted to have a front yoke for this bottom piece, right in the center, I want to add extra so that I can have an inverted box pleat at the hem of the shirt. So the only way I could do that was by having a separate bottom piece because I didn't want to do that extra volume all the way from the shoulder down. That would be silly. So that's why this is going to be normal. And from here, I am going to have a seam and then I'm going to have that box pleat. With this shirt, I already added some extra in the center front so that my placket could be folded into the back. This is a hack I did last year. I'll leave you a link to show you where I described how I did that. So this is going to be my center front there. I folded that extension away. And then from here, I'm just going to fold this in half like this so that this extra seam can go down the middle. So I have a sort of reference there. For this hack, I am actually going to create a bottom pattern piece just because I need to add a lot of width to it. So I just got a white piece of paper and I just traced around this edge of the sides. So here's the side, here's the dart, part of the armhole there. I traced along the bottom. This is a shorter version. With my other version, I already determined the length that I wanted, so I just folded the extra here away. That's why this looks shorter. On the top there, I also drew a straight line just going across the paper, and I added the 3/8 seam allowance I'm going to need to sew onto my front yoke. So this line that I had folded, I marked it in green so you can see. I drew little mark there, little mark there, and I replicated that line here. Now the width of the pleat here, to determine how much I want to add for this pleat, I'm just going to take as reference the pleat on the back of the shirt. So on the back you have a pleat there. So I measured that distance, whatever that is, by 2 is what I'm going to do right here. I'm just going to take that distance there from that back pleat so that the back pleat and the front pleat sort of look the same. That's how much wider my bottom piece is going to be. Carlos, I'm filming and you're making noise. That's how much wider this is going to be. And now to continue drawing my piece, I'm going to take my green line I had over here and place it right on top of this line that I drew there. And this is how I'm adding all the volume, including all this extension for the placket, all of that. And now I can trace this line over here, mark it. So this is my new front piece. I'm just going to cut it out. This is what I'm going to cut out of fabric. It looks super wide. The yoke on the top looks super little, but remember there's all this excess here that I'm going to fold into a box pleat. The length of the box pleat from the hem, it's not going to be more than 5 inches, I think. I'm getting ready to cut my pieces. What I wanted to show you was the modified block fusing. Here is the black interfacing. I have already fused onto the fabric right along the edge of the selvage very, very neatly. So that's already interfaced. Before I cut my pattern pieces, that means that I'm not going to get pulling in the center front if this should shrink this way. I've done the same with the front yoke. That will have an area that will be the placket, of course. If you want to know more about block fusing, I have a whole video about it. That's a thumbnail, so you can go more depth into why I do it like this. For this piece, I needed to add 3/8 seam allowance, so you can see the gap there. But for this one, I already did add the seam allowance, so that when I cut along that way, I'm going to be adding the 3/8 seam allowance to this piece. Here are the pattern pieces for my modified Aria shirt. This is much shorter. It's below my natural waist, sort of at my high hip. Love that length. And here's the back. This hasn't changed. It still has the original yoke and the back where there's going to be a pleat. I'm not going to do the burrito method here. This is a denim and I just like to keep it light. It's really hot here. And I think you can get away with just a single layer with denim, so I'm just keeping it simple. There is my extra front yoke that I cut out from the main piece. This is already interfaced, so that's going to be sewn together. This is much wider because I'm going to have a pleat down here. That little rectangle is going to be a pocket flap that I'm going to sew in that seam so it looks like there's a pocket, but there won't be one. My short sleeve that hasn't changed, my collar that hasn't changed. I have one layer interfaced on the top and the one on the bottom isn't interfaced, and that was just my choice for this type of fabric. With lighter fabrics, I have interfaced both. So just think about what you need for your specific fabric. I think for this lightweight denim, one layer is going to be enough. So I'm going to focus mainly on sewing these two pieces together, putting the pocket and doing the pleat, because the pleat I'm going to do on one side is going to be the same here and the same over there. I have already assembled the back. This is the center back where you would usually have the pleat open all the way from the yoke seam over here. It would just be an inverted box pleat, but I have sewn it down for quite a bit and then left the rest open here at the bottom. I'm going to turn it around so you can see. Over on this side, you can see the volume of the pleat to each side. It's been top stitched down there right on the edge. I've also top stitched across like that to keep it in place. So that is the intended look of this pleat. I love it. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the front. This is the front. I have a bust dart there, but just to keep this simple, I'm going to do the pleat first and then I'm going to do the dart so I don't distort anything there. And I have the lines here, 2 lines, same distance as the other pleat from the back. Just as a reference, I'm going to leave this pleat open here by 5 inches on the front. Okay, here is my bottom front piece. My dart is drawn over there. I'm going to do that later. And I have the 2 lines marked. I just put them one on top of the other right there, and I have my excess volume there for the pleat. This is the line where I'm going to stop sewing with a regular stitch length, reinforce, and then keep going down with a basting stitch. And that's how I'm going to sew down the pleat. I did the same thing for the back. I can see my red line super well. Make sure that whatever you use to mark something like this, you can see well. There is my yellow line. I'm going to reinforce there. Now the rest, long stitch length. Now we're going to head to the iron to press the pleat open. And I'm going to take this and just move half of the volume to one side and half to the other. This is a small pleat, so it's easy to do without actually measuring, I find. I want to set this really well, so I'm really going to throw a lot of steam here. Okay, there we have it. At this point it's all closed, but I can see here where I changed my stitch length right there. So from where I changed the stitch length and it's reinforced, I'm just going to remove that basting stitch there and that will open up the pleat. But I think closing it all the way is just the easiest way to get it pressed really accurately. See that black area there going back and forth? So a little below there, I'm going to find the first stitch and just remove it, and everything down below is just the basting stitch. It can come out so easily. And there we have our pleat open. And what I'm going to do, about 1/4 inch before that pleat starts, before it got opened, I'm going to sew across horizontally there, just to keep all that volume in there. And then I'm going to go and sew on the edge, on both sides of the seam, just to keep it really flat. If you're wondering, this pleat inside is not going to bother me at all. I'm just going to leave it there, and I find that this is the easiest way to do this. So just to make it easier, I'm going to find where the pleat starts and just draw a line all the way across, just a little above it. And that's what I'm going to top stitch now. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out, so you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. After sewing that little horizontal seam that will keep the volume down at the bottom, I am going to edge stitch all along the seam. This presser foot helps a lot. I'm going all the way down. I'm going to do a little pivot at the bottom here, being very careful. I'm doing this by hand cranking so I don't go too far, and then coming up the other way. There it is. How cute is that? So I'll put this away for a sec. I want to do these little flaps that I cut out. It's very simple. All I'm going to do is fold them like this lengthwise and sew the short ends and flip it. And that is all that this flap is going to be. It's really, really simple. Then this is going to go between the yoke seam and the bottom of the front. I've gotten my little flap and just placed it along the edge. I'm not making the flap centered over the seam. I'm sort of seeing where it's going to match my bust position right here. So just put it on your body and see where it's going to look best. So I've just aligned the raw edges, and I'm just going to give it a quick basting stitch very close to the edge, and then this can just become part of this piece. Then I can put the yoke here and sew them together there. Okay, there is my bottom front. This is the yoke right on top, right sides together. This is interfaced, this is interfaced, that matches. And in there we have the pocket flap. So I'm just going to sew this together, 3/8 seam allowance, serge it, and then the seam goes pressed up. And then I'm going to do a narrow row of top stitching there. You can see I have already stay stitched the neckline area so that this fits the collar later. That's something I did at the beginning. And then once this is done, all the rest of the construction of the shirt is pretty much the same. Shoulder seams, so the collar, so the sleeves, so the hem, the placket, all of that you've already seen. This was just the different part of it. I just showed my husband this. I tried it on just before filming now, and he was impressed, let me tell you. I show him all my makes and I always see what his reactions are, and he was like, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think so too. I'm just so happy with it. And it's the same fabric as the encore skirt, so I have a set. I still have enough to make one more garment out of that fabric, and I'm so happy about that. So all the top of the Aria shirt is the same. I have already shown you how to sew this collar. This here is not the original way to sew the placket. With this one I created an extension here, and it just extends it and folds it back, which makes it easier in the end. There is my front yoke, just pressed down and top stitched. I didn't do the burrito method, nothing like that, because this is denim and I didn't want to add layers there to something that's already medium to heavyweight. So I would have done that if my fabric was lighter, but not in this case. So my yoke here is normal at the back as well, just in a single layer, top stitched at the back. This pleat originally was there, it's just that you would leave it open. The difference here was that I sewed it a lot way down, and then I left it open just for a small amount right there. I have a 1 inch hem allowance, and this is about 5 inches of a pleat right there. In the front though, you can see my front yoke. It's got the little flap that's just for decoration, sewn into the top stitched. I sewed on a button, and then from here we have this pleat that is right there in the middle of the front piece. So that's why I had to create that new pattern piece. And there is a smaller pleat on the front this time. It's only about 4 inches long. So beautiful, edge stitched, sewn across right there. On the inside it looks like that. It's very, very nice. It's just so amazing that this came to reality when it was in my head. And it just fits so nicely. It's just such a different look with something so little added, like a few pleats. You know, this pleat was already here. I just sewed it down more. So this is just amazing. I found really cool buttons for it. Look at this, they're metal buttons. And I'm extremely happy with the result here. So another set, love having them. I love the option because when you're not that inspired and you don't know what to wear, it's just easy to grab these things and you're done. You don't need to think anything else. So let's see this one styled a few ways. Here is my beautiful Aria cropped shirt with extra pleats. You can see the pleat at the back and the 2 pleats at the front. You'll see them up closer, but I'm so happy with that detail that matches the detail on the enquiries skirt. These are set in grey denim, light to medium weight denim, easy to work with. How lovely are those little pleats? I think they go really well with the skirt, and I'm so glad the idea came up while I was trying on the skirt for something else. The back pleat sewn almost all the way down looks really cool. I've left an opening of 5 inches at the back, and at the front it's 4 inches there for the inverted box pleat. Super pretty. Got a 1-inch hem allowance there. This is quite shorter than the original Aria. I think you can play around with length, and it was so fun. I've got all-in-one collar, my extra yoke piece with extra flaps. Something I added extra, the short sleeves just with a simple hem, top stitched yoke at the back. It's just so lovely, and I love this grey outfit. It's really basic, but I've spiced it up with red shoes and a red bag, and I feel great. I think grey can be boring, but I'm sort of liking it, and I do like it a lot in denim. So I'm very happy with this little jacket, light summer jacket or spring jacket that this Aria can be. Here I've paired it with my summer key pants again. Summer key pants are wide leg pants in linen. They look a lot more structured, so I think this shorter type of top goes really well. I feel good like this. Just a simple black cami underneath and very comfy walkable sandals. And I'm really loving the shorter length. It's sort of a new thing for me. I usually make things longer. But if you can't wear things at your waist like me, maybe the high hip is an alternative. This would be the most cropped thing I could wear as a topper, I think, that I feel comfortable with. And because it's a little shorter as well, I think it goes great with fit and flare dresses. These are a really cool dress I made a few years ago in ITY, and it's got grey, black and white tones in there. So this new Aria shirt goes perfectly over here, like a light little layer. I doubt I'm gonna wear this on its own. It's always gonna be something I put on top, and I'm so happy that the vision just became a reality. It was such a fun make. I enjoyed every second of it. So nice. And of course denim is always easy to work with, so nothing was a struggle here at all. I hope this episode gave you a bit of inspiration. You can see that I've taken for both of these items inspiration from a detail of bottoms, like the summer key pants, the hem detail went over here, then I made it shorter and brought it in, it's just so much fun. The pleats in the enquiries skirt became a feature in this new cropped Aria shirt. So gorgeous. I love how it turned out, and I'm just so inspired when something like this happens, because it just reminds me of how much I love sewing. I know I love sewing every day, but it's not the same thing when you're creating your own sort of vision. And having a pattern that already works, that you've already made, just takes all the guesswork of fitting and all that out of the picture, and all you're working with there is creativity and making small changes, and they don't have to be really complex. I don't think adding a pleat is very complex. I don't think making a casing at the bottom and putting an elastic is super complex. These are ideas that you can apply to other shirt patterns as well. It doesn't just have to be for the Aria shirt. I just happen to use this pattern a lot because it fits and it's amazing. As promised, I said I was going to show you some images towards the end of the episode of my previous 9 versions of the Aria. If you haven't seen them before, maybe you're new to the channel and you don't know about them, I'll try to remember them in order that I've made them. But the first one was a cotton lawn. It's a little bit shorter. It was done in pattern testing, so I hadn't adjusted for length yet. Very beautiful print, just gorgeous and fresh to wear. Then I made a beautiful one in chiffon, long sleeves. A lot of work, let me tell you, but so worth it. So beautiful in a really interesting animal print. That one has a towel placket because it's got the long sleeve. Another long sleeve version I made was using a houndstooth in a crepe. It's like a suiting fabric but light. I thought was appropriate for a blouse. And I also have the tower placket there. I have details in green so you can see them, and I did film the tower placket using that version so you could really see how to do it. So if you've never sewn a tower placket, give it a go. I have a really detailed video about it. Then I made a shirt dress. This one's purple. A shirt dress is also an option here. There's a casing at the waist which brings it in, and it's beautiful. I love that fabric. It's super drapey. It's a rayon linen blend. Number 5 is a sleeveless black and white version, long length, that I love wearing over things as a layering piece mainly. super gorgeous. I love that printed linen. Number 6 was this one in its original form. I cut out the hem already, but that was number 6. Super pretty, and I have worn it a lot, but I just made it different right now. Number 7 is gorgeous for winter. It's a jacket I made in a light wool suiting material with linen accents in gray. Lovely, lovely to just throw on. That one's a little bit oversized. I just gave myself a tiny little bit of seam allowance on the sides. I didn't alter the pattern pieces, nothing like that. I just gave myself a little bit more space because it's to put on top of things. Number 8 is this one right here with the stripes. Gorgeous. I love this fabric. I've made multiple garments in this fabric, and it's easy to find me if I'm wearing this one. Number 9 was a refashion in a sisaka. I found the shirt in really good condition with the fabric. Perfect. It's a perfect fabric I'd always wanted to find, but could never find in the shops anywhere. So I took it apart and I kept some of the original details. I kept the original placket here, and I took everything apart here. I used the banded collar option, and it's just a beautiful shirt. Now I have one more brand new one, which makes a grand total of 10. And I hope you're inspired by these. Don't forget to grab the Aria today, only for $5. And if you haven't got the pattern and you would like to buy the course, that's optional, of course. You would get the pattern included with the course, but only today. I have a very busy weekend coming up as usual. I have been away for a week on the channel. Last video was last Friday. It doesn't mean I've been taking days off because I've been sewing so much every single day. Of course, you're going to see these new makes as we go down further in the month of April. Lots of amazing things coming for you to enjoy here at Lifting Pins and Needles, so make sure you're subscribed. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye.